Well, the British, as we were a free-speaking nation that understood where it came from and understood what British values were, and we weren't repeatedly having to, define what it means to be British. It was taken for granted, and now we find ourselves in this peculiar world where, when we say, the majority's interests are being set aside, and minority, particularly certain ethnic minorities, are having their interests promoted and above, and to the detriment of the majority, they go, well, what does it mean to be British? You define it, and they try to codify everything. And in that process, effectively, they're shutting you down. So freedom of speech on the altar of liberalism is being sacrificed.
Yeah, and I think that that's so important. And the whole point about justice, it's supposed to be blind, and we see this horrendous sentences that are going for what we classify as freedom of speech. So the Lucy Connolly case is a classic example. 31 months for her. I personally believe, and I've made this very public, that she should never have pleaded guilty to incitement. What's your view on that?
I agree. She should never have pleaded guilty to incitement. And the same goes for Peter Lynch, who also said and held a plaque. He said things and held a placard with some conspiracy theories on it, but he wasn't charged with what he said. The charge was basically of violence, and he pleaded guilty. And I think a lot of these people probably felt, let's just get this out of the way, move on. Maybe they were given bad advice. Probably in the case of Peter Lynch, he didn't have much advice at all. This is that he was a 61-year-old man with no previous criminal record, probably incredibly stressed out at the time of receiving the charge and being questioned and whatnot. I mean, it's a clear miscarriage of justice in my view. And for the Prime Minister to get up and say, well, I don't really know the Lucy Connolly case. I can't comment on the specifics of the case. I can only talk about the need for free speech, and people shouldn't use that as a means to incite violence. Is a lie. Of course, he knows about the Lucy Connolly case. Even JD Vance knows about the Lucy Connolly case. Everyone does, you know.
No,
So he's lying. So we know the Prime
you're
Minister's a liar.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And the other point that I would make is that people should never plead guilty if they're not. And I don't know what legal advice they receive, but often it will be, and it's a statement of fact, that if you plead guilty early enough, it does reduce your sentence. But if you're not guilty, don't be
Don't
tempted
do
by
it.
it.
I agree. Don't hold your ground. Absolutely.